everyone, welcome back to WHU TV. My name is John, your host as always, and I hope you're doing well as I always do. This is episode 34 of the weekly live chat where you and I get to discuss a lot of things over the last 7 days. The conversation, I'm not going to lie, is going to be more predominantly focused on what's happened over the last 3 and a bit days. But good evening, Jake. Hope you're alright. Good evening, Rick. But more importantly, guys, from a personal perspective and for the channel perspective, we welcome back Tony Blackwell as both a viewer and also a Patreon for the channel. Tony, welcome back, mate. It's been a while since you've been around, and I'm very, very glad to see you back, mate. And as I said, as you can see from the comments there, when I found out he was back on Patreon, I did send him a message hoping he was all right, and he's told me the reasons why he's been away. But yes, welcome. Please do welcome him back, guys. It's fantastic to have Tony back, and it's also fantastic to have his support as always. So yeah, brilliant. So guys, as always, this video is sponsored by the channel sponsor 3retro.com. Please click the link in the description below that will take you directly through to the West Ham section of the website, where you can see some very nice retro gear, guys, as you can see from the icon that's up here. Even did the video earlier for anyway, to that in a minute. But as always, guys, there's also Admiral and Umbro Claret and Blue track jackets, polo shirts, sweatshirts and t-shirts, so go check those out. Any purchases made through the link in the description below, the commission that the channel would normally be getting, I'll be sending directly on to Iron Supporting Food Banks, the charity within the Newham area that are supporting those within the West Ham community area of Newham at this very, very difficult time. So, guys, as always, it's great to see you all. Ankatam's asking where you're there at the protest. As you can see from the pinned comment, the ESL will be discussed shortly. Yeah, I'll put it up. So I'll make sure everybody, please do click on that, because we're not going to be talking about it as yet. But welcome, Ankatam. Hope you're right. Evening at Walshy. Hope you're right. John, hello, mate. Good to see you again. Kent, welcome back. As I already said, Jake, and 2 up, 2 down. Good. Welcome to the channel. It's nice to see you. Hope you everything all right. Ken, don't get me started on this. Is the thing, mate. I went to the barbers on Thursday, right, and I asked them to have a trim, just a trim, and I even showed how much I only wanted a little bit taken off, and they ended up doing this. wasn't happy in any shape or form. But Jake says he's what a whirlwinds of a week for football. Absolutely, mate, it is, and as I say, we will come on that. But first and foremost, guys, kind of like we're bringing the second half of the video up to date, because there's obviously, as we all know, there's a lot to talk about with what happened from Sunday afternoon until pretty much this afternoon, for that matter. Give me your thoughts on Newcastle first and foremost. Give me your thoughts on the Newcastle game first and foremost. Tony says, JP, you're not telling me you had a mullet then? No, it wasn't a mullet, mate. My hair was nice and long. It wasn't a mullet, because it was no shaving at the back. It was not all stuck up like fucking wasn't a Pat Sharp job. Ankatam, you are asking about it because it's related to it. Come on, son. You know your brain. You know, you can engage your brain for a second. We will talk about that, but we're not talking about that yet. That's why it says that it's all part of it. Because if there wasn't an ESL, there wouldn't have been any protests. Use your brain. Come on. So yeah, guys, give me for those that watch the game on Saturday. Give us your thoughts on the Newcastle game. For me, as I hinted a little bit in the preview that's already up on Patreon for the Chelsea home game on Saturday. We just weren't at the races in any shape or form, especially for the first half. Mistakes for the two Newcastle goals. Mistake for the third. Nice goals from us for the second, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, it's a shame that relegation fodder Newcastle United have got all 6 points off us, but at the same time, guys, this is what happens in football. It is what happens in football. Nothing is a given, and certainly nothing should be taken for granted, which we will come on to in a minute. And he says, I had a feeling it was going to happen at Newcastle, but the results have still gone away. Yes, they have. Rick says, we did not play well at Newcastle. Dawson did a stupid thing getting sent off, but we hope we do well on Saturday. Yep, two mistakes, 2 yellow cards, mate. Absolutely. Tony says, West Ham looked too confident. thought that they had already won the game against them. Newcastle were on fire and we paid the price in his opinion. Absolutely right there, Tony. We were way too complacent right from the start. Newcastle had a lot of possession. Where are we? Kent says, played like a donkey. Dawson played like a donkey. I wanted him dropped for that game. Been coming for a month or so. So came back well. Came back well, but then switched off again. Bad day at the office. Absolutely agreed. 2 Up 2 Down. Hammer says, think we done okay for what team we have. First fair play on that one. Robert Singleton, welcome mate. Hope you're right. Irish Tommy's in the room as well. I was about to say in the house then. Newcastle was disappointing, but onwards and upwards, says Robert. Yeah. Irish Tommy says Craig Dawson's challenge, which got him a second yellow, was incredibly stupid. It almost certainly cost us points. Absolutely agree, mate. Completely agree. Cannot argue with that in any shape or form. But one of the cool things I came about, I don't know if you guys got to see this at all, but Mipo Odebeku, because I can't pronounce his full first name properly, has come out. Was speaking on the West Ham website the other day. There's a couple of things in here which was really quite cool. He said I'm in and around the first team every single day, training with them, the form they're in, and you see players like Jesse Lingard, Declan Rice, and the stuff that they're doing. Just watch them day in, day out, and taking little bits from them, little bits of confidence. It's good. And in terms of opportunities about getting into the first team, he said it was good to get a couple of minutes with the first team too. That's what you want as a kid. I've had lots of learning experiences, which is good. And then yeah, so it's all gravy for them. So guys, I know what the answer's going to be, but I'm going to I'll put this question to you anyway. Do you think Mipo Odebeku should be getting some starts within the remaining 6 games? And thank you, Robert, saying the Spurs are 1-0 down. But do you think Odebeku should be getting some starts within the next 6 games? Personally, after Chelsea, yeah, I think he should. I genuinely think he should get some minutes. I really genuinely think he should. Especially bearing in mind that there's no update on Antonio or Rice yet before anybody asks. So it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting one. Ken says no, he's not ready yet. Fair enough, but what options have we got? That's the thing. But yeah, I agree. But he's not going to be ready until he gets the opportunity. So it's a catch-22 from that point of view. Excuse me. But yeah, at the end of the day, guys, it's very interesting that that's happening. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we don't know when Antonio is going to be coming back. We don't know when Rice is going to be coming back. We've got no proper centre forward. As good as Lingard is, as fantastic as he's been for us, potentially he's not a long-term scenario. So, you never know. But for me personally, yes, as I say. Rick says, yes, you should be giving game time starts, getting some starts after the Chelsea game. Robert says, only if we have the game won, i.e. coming on as a substitution. Absolutely. So that's not to have starts, but like I said, there's no right answer to this, guys, because we don't know what's going to happen. We really, really don't know what's going to happen. But talking of Jesse Lingard, it was quite interesting actually. I don't know because I was reading Football London yesterday, and there's a really good article in there about Jesse because it was talking about. Says, whilst on England duty earlier this month, Lingard and former Man United teammate Marcus Rashford took part in a roommates quiz where the two answer questions about one another to see who knows each other the best. We've seen the West Ham versions of that with Creswell and Noble and Rice and Fredericks, etc., etc. And they said, in this game, Lingard told Rashford that his first West Ham goal was actually against Spurs, not his opening strike at Villa Park. It says, when I was younger, I went to West Ham on trial when I was 9 and I scored my first goal. And then Marcus Rashford asks him who the team was that he scored against, and it was Tottenham. So I love that. I think it's great. It's a bit of a 20 odd years ago we were looking at him. We were looking at him and decided not to take him on. But we had this. We've had all that. We've had those rumours all over the plate. Robert says the games are too important for us. Depends on what your class is important. If you're trying to get the team up to as high a place as possible, absolutely. If you're just happy to finish in the top 6, maybe. If you're happy to finish in the top 10, then they're not important. It all depends on your point of view. Now, also for that matter, where are we? The new rules for the well, not the rules, but the changes to the Champions League that are coming from 2024. 36 clubs being involved in it. Interesting. Where's the details itself? Taking the total number of 32 teams from 32 to 36 in the UEFA Champions League, the biggest change will see a transformation from the traditional group stage to a single league stage, including all participating teams. Every club now will be guaranteed a minimum of 10 league stage games against 10 different opponents, 5 home games and 5 away, rather than the previous 6 matches against 3 teams, played on a home and away basis. So, money. More than anything else. Now, there's 32 European football clubs divided into 8 different groups participate in the UEFA Champions League tournament since 2003. The top 2 clubs from each quartet were qualified for the knockout round. So that's the details on previously. Now, the thing is, see what you guys are saying for that. Tony says, yeah, he should be blooded in slowly, given 15, 30 minutes max. Let him get used to the Premier League. Absolutely agreed. Tommy says, there were reports that we have reached an agreement with United on the permanent transfer of Lingard at the end of the season. Don't know how much truth is in it, but is hoping. To be honest with you, Tommy, mate, I hope that's genuinely true. I haven't seen anything whatsoever. But as Tony's saying as well, he said the same thing, but how true they are is another thing. We will find out in 6 weeks' time. I think it's 6 weeks when at least when the window. I think the window opens pretty quickly as well again, because obviously we got the Euros coming up, so be interesting to see what happens. Gary says, I'm late, god damn it, mate. You know what time it is. It's been going at 7 o'clock for almost a year. You've got no excuse. But yeah, so that was the format for the Champions League. Now, which brings us on quite nicely to the subject. Damien Ferreira says, "Oi, it's Sheena. I'm on our partner's account. Welcome, Sheena. You're right in time, perfectly on time." Robert says, "Someone mentioned 22 million. Context, please, mate. Context." All right, guys. So let's jump into the crux of it, because this is around about as much as viewership as this channel ever gets, sadly. But the European Super League was announced about 4:30 on Sunday afternoon, live during the Burnley versus Man United game. It's about I think it's about 4:30, and as of lunchtime this afternoon, it's dead in the water. 2 million for Lingard. Okay. But yeah, you said mentioned, not mentioned as in past tense, so that's why I was getting confused with it. But yeah, as I said, the European Super League was announced on Sunday afternoon, and it pretty much folded this afternoon. So 72 hours basically. All of the so-called top 6 Premier League clubs. So that's, what was it? Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Tottenham. Hang on, where we say Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Tottenham. Yep. All pulled out within the space of 24 hours. One of the reasons probably behind that is the fact that there is an actual ruling. There's an actual ruling in the Premier League contract that states, except with prior written approval of the board, during the season a club shall not enter or play its senior men's first team in any competition other than, just to clarify, guys, this is Rule L9, right? So L9.1, the UEFA Champions League, 9.2, the UEFA Europa League, 9.3, the FA Cup, 9.4, the FA Community Shield, 9.5, the Football League Cup, or 9.6, competitions sanctioned by the county association of which it is a member, which is interesting. So yeah, basically that's part of the reasons why the so-called top six pulled out immediately, because FIFA came out saying we didn't agree this. UEFA came out and said we didn't agree this. The Premier League says we didn't agree this, and there was big heavy sanctions on top of everything to show that, for example, none of the players that were playing for the clubs in the ESL would be able to represent their nation or participate in any Premier League club game or any League Cup or Cup game. Well, basically any Cup game in general, to be honest with you. And were completely banned from doing anything if they did this without the Premier League's consent. Now, I've mentioned many times, especially over last summer, when we were talking about the pay-per-view stuff that was being discussed in the summer and they put it into effect in October, November time, and we were all up in arms about that. The football community as a fan base came together for that, and we've all come together once again to air our views on this. And it's not just the football supporters either. It's not just YouTube, right? If anybody was watching Man United Burnley, right? Gary Neville spent 10 minutes ranting. Well, not ranting. Was about 5 or 6 minutes ranting about how bad this is, the massive disconnect. And he's done it many times. He did it many times over. If you watch the Gary Neville podcast that's on the Sky Sports channel on YouTube, he was saying about how they've lost the integrity of their ownership, how he feels that the club that he supports is degraded, to say the least, etc., etc. Yeah, this is the thing. It's just the facts that nobody was consulted at any level. Not the players, not the managers, not the fan bases of their respective clubs. Nothing. They all went behind each other's backs in that sense to form this together. Now, from what I understand of doing some bit of research of it over the last couple of days, because, guys, you know me, rather than just making a reactionary video to things, I like to try, which I know a lot of YouTube channels have done, and quite rightly so, because they put their voices out straight away. I like to find out the backgrounds of it and find out why, what all the scenarios are. And for those that haven't looked into it as deeply as I have, because let's face it, guys, I know a lot of us have got a lot of time on our hands at the minute, but for those that haven't looked into it deeply and just relied on what's been going on Twitter and Facebook and all that sort of stuff, this was pretty much spearheaded by John Glazer and John W. Henry. This is why Ed Woodward is standing down, not immediately, but he's standing down at the end of the season. So he's going to get his payout from the Premier League position, his respect, and then he's standing down. He would have more respect from me, or anybody else for that matter, including the Man United supporter base, if he resigned with immediate effect. But no, he's not resigning until the end of the season. Joel Glazer. Thank you, Kent. I know it was one of the Glazers. I can't remember which one it was. That's what I said. It was the Glazers and John Henry. So hello, Yusuf. But yeah, so which is the reason why John W. Henry has come out and has come out and apologised to the Liverpool fan base. The statement that went up on every single football club's website was an absolute joke, to say the least. I know West Ham have put a statement up on their website on the website as well, which, to be honest with you, I haven't read, because you guys know as well as I do that they would be, if we were up and around the top six for a 10-year period, and it was handed to David Sullivan, he would jump at it like a shot, in the same way that the idiot who runs Spurs has jumped at it as well. Now I will draw you back. So guys, I'm going to be finishing this rant in a little while, because obviously I want to see what you guys are talking about. But I'll draw you back to the All or Nothing program about Spurs, right? And this is the thing. And I mentioned it in the podcast. In one of the live chats when I ended up watching the series, was the fact that Daniel Levy said they will miss the money from the match day, not the fans. We miss the money. We need the money back as soon as possible. Daniel Levy doesn't give a shit about anybody. Ed Woodward spearheaded. Try and get all this ESL stuff together as quickly as possible. Now, let's not forget, guys, that the ESL has been floating around for at least the last 2 to 3 years. To blame the pandemic as a reason to bring this up to date, to bring it up into the start of August is what they were talking about. But it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Ken says Daniel Levy is but the Joe Louis is the owner. Yeah, but Daniel Levy's the face of it, so he's getting all the brunt of it. To be honest with you, but as I say, it's just ridiculous. It's just it just proves of what we've been saying for a long time as a supporter base, and what I've said, and what loads of other people have been saying recently about the extent of the corruption in football. UEFA and FIFA and the Premier League not happy with this because they're not getting a slice of the pie that these clubs were trying to sort out. That's all it is. That's all it is. If the Premier League clubs have put the proposal to the UEFA and FIFA and said, right, from the TV money, it will still be on Sky, still be on BT, blah 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 blah, or all the other channels that are broadcast all over Europe, etc., they would lap it up. It's got nothing to do with the fact that we of our voices. I know a lot of people are. I know some of it has been. It's a small percentage of what it is. But at the same point, it's got no. If UEFA and FIFA had signed this off, or the outrage would be only what we're hearing from you and I. That's it. Nothing else. Because as I say, if Sky and BT were going to get their greedy little hands on it, there wouldn't be half this backlash. They really, really wouldn't. It would be all from us. Yes, all right. It might not have happened anyway because there's been so much fan outcry. But at the same point, let's not forget that in 1992, the FA sanctioned a breakaway league of the Premier League. And what was it, in 2000 and something? The Championship was sanctioned as a breakaway league from League One to be in between League One and the Premier League. Let's not forget that. The difference is that everything was agreed. That's all it was. That was all it was, is the fact that the Premier League and the Championship were agreed by all clubs involved. Whereas this is all about money. And I'll continue on in a minute. I'm just going to catch up with your notes now, guys. Let's have a look at what your comments have been. Tommy says the Premier League 6 clubs involved will come out of it smelling of roses because the Premier League only will slap them on the wrist and UEFA after the Champions League to make them more money. Win-win. Very good point there, mate. Very good point. Sheena is saying I would have been on my one, but the phone had just died. Okay, so Kent says dock them points and give them a European ban and fines. Won't bother these teams. Minimum of 20 points. Mate, I agree with what everyone's saying. Relegate him down to the 5th league, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely agree with him. Sheena says, do you reckon the top 6 will get fined? We'll have to wait and see. Nothing is over yet. Just because it's all pulled out doesn't mean the legal ramifications have stopped. No way. Kent says Gary Neville berated and lambasted his own club. Brilliant for him. Yeah, a lot of my respect came back for Gary Neville on Sunday. Because he turned back into the football fan. He's been very, very one-sided for a lot of things, and yeah, so I got a lot of respect back for him. The Premier League, Tony says, the Premier League are seeking sanctions against the Big Six, and the executives on the Super League board are being asked to step down. Yeah, as we talked about, Ed Woodward stepping down at the end of the season, which is ridiculous. Gary says, do you think UEFA will say they will be entered into the Champions League every year regardless? They don't want us little clubs in there. Gary's got nothing to do with this. Got nothing to do with us. That's what I said at the start of it. This has been going on for 2 or 3 years. The European Super League was mentioned a couple of years ago, which is why that famous quote just before the Liverpool game on Monday night, where they interviewed Klopp and asked him, has your opinion changed with the news of the last 3 years? And he basically went, no, it hasn't. It hasn't changed. I still feel exactly the same as what I said then. None of the players were aware of it. I wasn't aware of it until it was announced. It's just ignorance in massive general terms. Andy says there has to be points deduction on and fines, or the integrity of the Premier League governance will be null and void. Andy, it already is, mate. Walshy, it genuinely is already null and void. That's half the problem. Yusuf said, why have people getting haircuts, barbershops open? They are in this country, mate. Thanks for keeping up on point with the conversation as usual. Jesus. Tony says Ed Woodward was employed by the Glazers as he worked for JP Morgan, who were funding around £5 to £10 billion into this fast. Exactly. He was appointed. He was given a bung to do it, basically. But Gary says, I can see 3 30-minute halves in the future. More beer sold, adverts. Exactly. And again, this comes up down to it, mate. And I'm glad you pointed that out, fella, because it's 4 of the 6 owners of the top 6 are owned by American clubs, American people, right? Trying to turn the Premier League into the NFL. I've been saying it for years. This is what happens when you allow people into a community that have no fucking idea what that community is in any shape or form, and then they try and change it for themselves, and we're supposed to be sitting back as Brits and acknowledging it. No, it doesn't happen. No, it doesn't. You do things the right way, not just because you've got a few billion in your back pocket. No way. And this is, again, it's a prime example. As I said, it's literally just down to the fact of it's literally just down to the fact that they think because they've got the prestige of being in the Champions League every season, that they can do what they want. Spurs haven't been in the Champions League for a sustained period of time to be called a top 6 club. They've done it 7 of 10 years, 10, 12, 8 of 11, 12 years. Not enough time. Yes, all right. The Forbes valuation possibly, but no. If you want to talk about top 6, what about Everton? They're in the top 6 more than they were. Gary says, do you think our owners would have joined? I did say that straight away. Andy says about the only team to care about their fans is Leicester. Agreed. Well, Leicester weren't in it because they're not in this so-called established top 6 team. They weren't involved in that conversation in any shape or form. But sorry, yeah. Andy says the owners, that is, yeah, agreed. But they say they weren't involved in it. They won the Premier League, for Christ's sake, 5 years ago. That's it. But why weren't they called into the conversation? It's just ridiculous. I say it's the arrogance of everybody. Tony says, exactly. When you hear one of the executives saying it's about revenue first, the fans or consumers, as we're labelled, are second choice. Mate, we're not even second choice. We're not. We are bottom of the pile. We're only just a little bit higher than the owners. That's right, the managers. That's it to the owners. That is absolutely it. Gary says, what about the comment, little teams are pointless? Didn't see it, so I can't comment on that one, mate. Sheena says, if the Super League went through, football would have been dead. Sheena, it's been dead for a while. It's been dead for a long, long time. Football as it stands will never be the same again. Will never be the same again. And as I say, the reason being is because the likes of BT and Sky and Amazon, and I'm so proud, because basically, one of the terms of the European Super League was the fact that that you'd be able to watch the games through each club's platform, right? So they have their own independent streaming service. It would be pay-per-view. I guarantee you it would be pay-per-view. Even on top of the £900 to £1,200 that Chelsea season ticket holders are paying for their season tickets, guarantee it will be on top of that because it's external revenue, because it's not money coming from the normal sources. It's ridiculous. That's where they were going to try and make their money from it. And I'll come on to it in just a bit, and why in just a little bit. Tony says no. That's a conversation between the two. James Gooding, hello mate. Good to see you again. I said I think the most they will do is a transfer embargo, if that, mate. Yeah, if that. Kent says I'd like them to be relegated all the way down, but won't happen. That's what agreed. Where are we? Two up, two down. Hammer says I think Gary Neville partially said what he said as an employee is Sky Sports. No, mate, it's not in any shape or form. It is 100% a football supporter. 100%. It's got nothing to do with that. I guarantee if he wasn't a pundit, he'd still be saying exactly the same thing, because he doesn't hold back for a lot of things. He talks a lot of shit a lot of the time, but for this, he has not held back in any shape or form. Tommy says the silence from Harry Kane is deafening. As England captain, surely he has the responsibility to speak up. Exactly. Now, as we would have seen over the last couple of days, Jordan Henderson talked to all of the captains of the Premier League clubs to discuss things. Not Kane. No, Henderson took it off his own back. You know, Harry Maguire was fuming apparently to find out that he wouldn't be able to play for England if this European Super League, or the potential for not playing for England in the Super League ever went ahead. But Tommy, you're absolutely right though, mate. You're absolutely right. It is absolutely deafening. Crichton says, how you doing, JP? I'm all right, mate. Nice to see you involved in the conversation. Gary says, we know it's all about the money. Tommy says, Ed Woodward resigns his position at UEFA when clubs announced their breakaway league. When it collapsed, his position at United was untenable as they wanted someone high up at UEFA. Exactly. That's what I'm saying about him having a bung, because he was in there to be a mole, nothing more, nothing less. And that's a real shame, which again goes back to what I was saying about having capitalists in charge of the world nowadays. They want to try and get as much money out of as possible. We're byproduct. We are a byproduct. Tony says, can you imagine the carnage that would have raised if fans were in the stadiums? These chicken shit owners have no balls, and today they try to offer ludicrous apology and think that will make it right. It will never be the same again. It will never ever be the same again. James says, it's greed from the Americans and also the fact of next season La Liga's revenue share no longer goes to 70% to Barca and Real. This was planned 4 years ago, conveniently when Super Talk decided. Exactly. And likewise, the reason, and also, you know, that there's, as we talked about a few weeks ago, mate, which I'm not sure you were involved in, financial fair play rules this season, this coming season, are going to be relaxed because of the amount of debt the clubs are in, which again, I'll talk about it now. I was going to wait for a little bit and discuss it a little bit more, but as of the end of the 1920 season, these were the debts of the 12 teams involved in it. Now, before I do talk about that, I just want to let you guys know that AC Milan and Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid all pulled out by lunchtime today, which leaves Barcelona, Juventus and Real Madrid in debt. And I'll tell you why, right? Barcelona are currently £274.2 million in debt, which is roughly the same, give or take a few million, is roughly the same debt that West Ham are in at the minute, as of the end of the 1920 season. Juventus, £336.7 million in debt at the end of last season. And Real Madrid, £146.8 million in debt. The remaining, Tottenham Hotspur, £591.8 million in debt. Manchester United, £452.7 million in debt. Inter Milan, £278.6 million in debt. Atletico Madrid, £95.9 million in debt. Arsenal, £66.3 million in debt. Man City, £44.8 million in debt. Liverpool are yet still, towards the end of April, are yet to disclose their accounts for the 1920 season. That's unbearable. So they're in a shitload of debt, I guarantee you. And Chelsea around about £16.6 million in debt. That's all they care about. That is literally all they care about was the money. That's it. That's all they care about. That's the only reason why they did it, so all the clubs can wipe their accounts, have their accounts in the black rather than in the red, and profit from there. That's all it was. That's all it was all about. Complete 100%. Those are what we're saying. It's unbelievable. Kent says Everton have won nine league championships. That's a lot more than Spurs. Absolutely agreed. That's why I'm saying why wasn't Everton involved in the top 6 conversation? Their history is much bigger. Tony says that's the funny thing about these teams labelling themselves as elite. Yet they're so elite that 3 clubs are massively in debt, and Spurs and Arsenal claiming to be is the funniest thing ever. Claiming not to be, I think Tony meant in that one. Sheena says, I did watch on the news that the people that was involved in the deal of the Super League ain't going to be trusted again. Great, 100%. Tommy says, the likes of Real Madrid and Barca are in dire financial straits, as we discussed, and think they should be protected. It's the same too big to fail attitude we saw from corporations after the 2008 collapse. Exactly right, mate. 100%. Spot on. Tony says, that's a personal conversation between the two of them. Rob says that debt will escalate after this season. It certainly will, mate. I'm dreading to see what the accounts are going to be for everybody at the end of the season. I really am. James Gooding says, the thing is a normal business having financial issue when your expensive contracts and you don't pay more and extend them. And at the end of the day, footballers are contractors. Agreed. And owners are custodians of a football club. That's all they are. That is all they are. They are custodians of a football club. They don't own West Ham. They don't own these clubs that they're in. They don't own them. They're looking after them. And they're supposed to be looking after them. Not for themselves, looking after the club. Not looking after themselves. And that's the problem. This is how bad things are. And as I said, I've mentioned about corruption in football so many times. You just have to look at the valuations of footballers nowadays. And I've mentioned it big time. I've mentioned it time and time and time again over the last couple of years. Footballers aren't worth the price that they have on their heads. They're not. They're not worth them in any shape or form. They really, really aren't. No footballer, with the exception of possibly Messi, Ronaldo, etc., are worth more than £1 million. Not one. Not one. It's how much they're worth to the clubs they're playing at. There's the difference. It's like when you buy a house. You are paying 3 to 4 times as much as the house is actually worth, because it's valued at a common market price. That's it. Good evening, Kieran. Hope you're all right. Come through. You just missed my big rant about the European Super League in any shape or form. You've completely missed that. It was good. It's like I'm as a football, taking my West Ham allegiances out for the moment. As a football supporter, I am so proud of Jurgen Klopp and of Pep Guardiola coming out and saying, "What the fuck's all this about?" Quite frankly, they need to explain why. They need to explain why they've done what they've been doing. I absolutely love that. Tony says, JP, these owners thought that with all this money that they were going to generate, that they were virtually untouchable. They never thought the fans, the media, players would revolt in the way that they did. Yep, agreed. Thomas says, let any club go to the wall like Bury. We're allowed to. If they can't run their club competently, nobody should get special treatment. Agreed, exactly. But this is the problem when we live in a capitalist society. You have more power if you have more money. Not anymore. No, it doesn't. And I will reiterate it. I will reiterate it. The reason why it folded was because the owners of these so-called top 6 clubs didn't seek approval from their respective leagues, which is the reason why none of the German clubs are involved in this, because as we all know, the majority shareholders of a German club are fans. That's why there's no Bayern Munich, there's no Dortmund, etc. None of them are in there whatsoever. You know, and that's the thing, and that's half the problem. Because fans don't matter in football. We've said it many times. And what on earth was Perez thinking about going to the media and saying what he said? Unbelievable. I agree with some of the things that he said about the fact that young supporters are getting bored of football and that they don't watch a full game. You just have to go to a game to watch that. The majority, but it's tourists. That's what he's talking about. It's not talking about fans that have been watching the club for 20 years. Even as a kid, kids that have had their season tickets since they were 5 or 6 years old. Yeah, that haven't missed a game in 20 years. They're there all the time. They are absolutely there all the time. They don't, but they are superfluous to the owners, because they want the guys that are going to come over from the US, or come over from China, or come over from France, come over from Italy, Spain, you name it, with their family, pay 60-70 quid a ticket for 2 adults and 2 children. So you're looking at already close to 200 £200 before they've even got in the ground. Go to the club shop, spend money in the club, spend money on shirts and t-shirts and pants and all firelight, Zippos and all the rest of it that all the clubs are, with the exception of Newcastle. Yeah, let's not gloss over what Mike Ashley did a few days ago. Yeah, and if you're still here, it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on this, mate. With the fact that the Newcastle club shop no longer exists. Unbelievable. But I couldn't criticise club owners without talking about Mike Ashley, and of course talking about our owners as well, because as I said, Sullivan would have jumped at the chance of this to have this income coming in. And also, for that matter, let's not forget that Arsenal fans are well aware of what us West Ham fans have been going through over the last few years, because they were told the same thing when they were going to be leaving from Highbury to the Emirates. The difference is they were competing with Man United. They were competing with Chelsea. They were competing with their next door neighbours, Spurs, before Spurs got into the Champions League on a regular basis. All football fans were lied to under all circumstances. Newcastle supporters, 15 years they've had of shit of Mike Ashley, all the lies that he's been telling people. It's unreal. It's absolutely unreal. Sheena says, my respect goes to all the fans, I think. Tony says, give Leeds their due. Mundy and the Leeds owner wearing those T-shirts, they showed their views. Hats off to them. Absolutely agreed, mate. But coming to Anchor Tam's question earlier, no, I wasn't involved in the protests. And I would have done if I'd have known about them at the time. But I've taken a step back from social media over the last few weeks because it's awful. Was it true that Levy sacked Jose just because he asked players not to train at the protests? If so, it makes the optics look even worse for Spurs. I'm not sure what optics are, James. Turn off your autocorrect, please, mate. I think it means options. Apparently, it's not. No. I'm glad you asked that, because I tweeted when that rumor was going around. I said if it's true, which it turned out to be it wasn't. If it's true, then fair play to Mourinho for it. But no, it actually came out a couple of days ago that it was more down to the fact the results, the fact that none of the players bar Harry Kane had his support, which is unbelievable. There's literally an article here that I was reading yesterday. Where is it? Where's the details about it? It's come via The Athletic. According to the in-depth report on how the decision to draw a line under Mourinho's spell at the club was reached, Spurs centre-forward Harry Kane was the only player who remained loyal to the 58-year-old come the end of his stint. The report states that the majority of the Spurs squad had been anticipating Mourinho's sacking, having grown disillusioned by his training sessions and confused by his tactics. Mourinho reportedly focused so much on defence that the more creative players in the Spurs squad were unsure he wanted them to attack. Mourinho's assistant, who was apparently quite an unpopular figure with the players, some of whom had publicly criticised Mourinho by Mourinho in recent weeks. According to The Athletic, Republic of Ireland defender Matt Doherty was one of the several players who found their confidence shattered by the way the manager would criticise them. Grow the fuck up, Spurs. Grow up. If he's come out and saying you're not doing your job properly, stop playing so shit. Grow up. The club wants Mourinho to stop ridiculing players in the media before ultimately deciding that the results simply weren't good enough, prompting Monday's decision to part ways with the infamously famous infamously divisive Portuguese coach. Now, see, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. It's just the fact that yes, you're in your early 20s, and this is the indicative of today's society. There's nothing wrong with criticism. You are paid a shitload of money. You're paid more money in a week than any of us will see in 12 months' time, in a 12-month period. And your confidence is shattered because you're being told you're not doing your job properly. Grow the fuck up. And that's just that to everybody. Take criticism. Be back to how I was brought up. Yeah, come back to those days where you're doing shit, you tell people you're doing shit. That's it. You get told you're doing shit. That's it. Tony says, James, it's hard to say that's the rumour Mill said, but it will come out soon. As I said, yeah. So obviously that was put in before I went into it. James says, I was talking to a Bavarian friend of mine regarding the 51% rule. He said it only works if the fan base is well off, as some clubs still ask for a season-on-season funding from the fans. Well, it has to, mate. That's the point. It's a conglomerate of fans so they can ensure that they can pump the money in, because at the end of the day, they're still owners, mate. They're still owners. Tommy says the ramification for Tottenham could be very serious now, given their precarious financial position. They must be sweating bricks. I think you mean shitting bricks, but it looks like autocorrect's supported him then. They won't have Champions League next season either. Very possible. Tony says, but JP, for Perez to say that 16 to 23-year-olds aren't interested and maybe we should shorten the length of a game, he clearly wasn't talking about UK fans, clearly deluded. Yeah, but at the same time, people of those ages, mate. I've seen it firsthand at West Ham. I've seen them walk out way before the normal time that people would leave a game to make sure they got home okay. Way shorter. Tony says there's a rumour that FSG may be looking to sell Liverpool. Of course that rumour's going to come out, mate. It's understandable. I don't think it's true in any shape or form. Certainly haven't seen the reliable people say it. Robert Singleton said, I heard a so-called recording of Jamie Redknapp saying that Levy wanted Jose to play Bale, Ali and such like, as he did not want costly players on the bench, and Jose said seems like I'm not needed here. No, that's what the report says, Robert, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of reports from reliable sources that said one of the other reasons why Jose was sacked was because he didn't think they should sign Bale on a permanent at the end of the season. So that's why. Spurs were no longer going in the way that Mourinho wanted them to. That's it. It's as simple as that, by the sounds of things. Sheena says, I watched the protest on YouTube last night, and like you said, if knew where it would have been, I would have been there. Have, not of. Have, would have, not would of. Would have. Tony says, these players are pampered too much, JP. I'm not surprised by that comment. Totally agree with you. Fucking grow a pair. I don't know how that got through, Tony. Sheena says, I did something about that. McGregor wants to buy Man United. Tony says, the bloody walk back to the station from London Stadium, not getting any younger. Join the club, son. James says, I think his logic with shorter games was, if the games were shorter, they could play more, they could get more money. Absolutely agreed. That's the thing. He's just trying to. He's blaming fans. He's blaming fans. The people that make sure he's got money coming into the fucking bank account. He's blaming people for what's happening. Oh, it just does my head in. John says, I think Spurs might miss Mourinho. They won't. It's not a case of might miss. They bloody will miss him. I don't think they'll get anybody decent at all, especially under these circumstances, especially when the owners are proving, and all these top 6 teams are proving they have no respect for their players, their staff, and their manager. It's as simple as that. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Welcome, Brain. What's your thoughts on the ESL? Because we spent about 20 minutes talking about it, and you're only giving it large in the chat now because you come back from 1-0 down. John says, well, and he says, back to basics, mate. What's the tipple of choice tonight? Ironically, it's crafty old hen. Crafty old hen. I bought this on Friday, and I went through all my beers over the during the game on Saturday, and yeah, it was left crafty old hen. So I thought it was quite entertaining to have for tonight. But guys, all right, so we've got 8 minutes left of the broadcast. Floor is yours. What do you want to talk about? Ask literally any question whatsoever. The floor is yours. I mean, obviously, just to give you guys a bit of an update on what's going on. As I said earlier, the preview for the Chelsea home game is available to everybody that are Patreons. So Rick, Rick, and etc. Yeah, you can view that. Everybody else, it'll be available for at 8:30 tomorrow night. So keep an eye out for that. John says not Super League. Any questions you want to talk about, or anything other subjects that we've discussed? That actually, I'll unpin that comment now because we're done with that part of the conversation. I'll unpin that. Unpin. There you go. No longer showing up, as it will be in a few seconds. It just takes YouTube a little while to update it. But yeah. So there you go. All gone. So James says, do you think fans will be at the Euros? Yes, they will, James. Unfortunately, the Dublin won't be able to host the Euros, which is a bit of a shame. But it was coming, because we talked about the nations hosting the Euros, and it was very late for Dublin even then. But now, John's asked if you had a good day, John. I have, mate. Apart from some personal things that were going on, basically. But other than that, it's all been good, mate. It's all been fine. Not an issue. Thank you very much. Hope you've had a good day as well. Tony says, just imagine if our club was involved in this Super League. How would you feel or react, considering how things are now? Embarrassed or angry? Could you face people? I could face anyone, mate. I don't give a shit. But I would not be renewing my season ticket next season. I wouldn't. That would be. I'd walk away from West Ham. I genuinely would walk away. I would shut this channel down and walk away. I really, really would, because it proves that what I've said for a long time is the fact that the club isn't run by supporters. It's run by money hungry, greedy little capitalists who have no idea what the football club means anymore. That would have been the last straw. That genuinely would have been the last straw for me. And she's asking, are you back in the office, bud, or are you still at home? Still at home. waiting to find out when we will be going back to the office. James says, I'm thinking of booking beer gardens sooner rather than later, just in case. Just in case of what? Exactly. In case of what? Sheena asks, if West Ham was in the Super League, Tony, she would have gone mental. Brain's asking, will West Ham beat Chelsea? I don't think we will, mate, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Robertson Singleton says, not a fan of points deduction as I want to earn things on your own merit, no matter how long it takes, and don't want other teams saying they weren't in the running. I think that's what you're meaning there. Oh, booking for the Euros. Okay. So again, I need context, mate. I don't know what you're thinking. I'm not a mind reader, especially when you're miles away. Tony says, I respect that answer, JP. These clubs have a lot of rebuilding of trust. They may not be able to ever get that back. Mate, the guys that support, guys and girls that have supported real football, proper football, will never have the respect of their owners of these top six clubs. I don't respect any of them. I didn't really respect any of them in the first place, to be honest. I mean, I respected Henry a little bit for what he did, getting Liverpool sorted out in terms of the infrastructure and etc. But in general, nah. There's hardly, I've hardly got any respect for our owners. I generally don't, because they're just idiots. They're not interested in doing what's right for the club. John says, I hope West Ham beat Chelsea. Yeah, I hope it'd be nice if we do, to be honest. It'd be nice to get a bit of payback for that 3-0 defeat at the start of earlier in 4 months ago, basically, wasn't it? Yeah, 4 months ago, 21st of December is when we last played them. But yeah, guys, anything else before we wrap this up? We've got 2 minutes left. So yeah, just give an update. As I say, the preview's out on YouTube tomorrow night at 8:30. We'll be live from 5:20 on Saturday afternoon for the Chelsea game. Please do come and join us along as always. And then obviously, hopefully, I'll try and do a fantasy league roundup probably next Thursday, to be honest with you, because there's football every single night this week. And pretty much Tuesday night as well, and then Wednesday. I might try and do it for before the live chat actually next week. We'll keep an eye out for that. Tony says, GSB in or GSB out? That is the question. Shut up. You know what my answer is on that one. John says, is West Ham away at home or away? We are at home for this one, mate. James says, if you stop watching football because West Ham joined something like the Super League, what sport would you watch and what teams would you follow in that sport? Well, I've always watched the Formula One. Actually, you just reminded me of something. Actually, a mate of mine lives over in Australia, and if Kieran might be able to back me up on this. Very, very similar thing happened over in the rugby league over in Australia as well. There was into the Super League. They try to do their own sort of Super League version over in Australia for the rugby, and all the lawyers were involved in it. And the lawyers got involved in quite a few nice fat checks as well, for that matter. But going back to your question there, James. I'd watch Formula One more frequently than I currently do, because Formula One's the same as the Premier League as far as I'm concerned. Just all they're interested in where they finish up on the table. That's it. I hate watching a driver just shoot off and nobody else can catch him. I really, really hate it. But yeah, there aren't really other sports that I would watch anyway. I'm not going to jump on one sport to fill a void. I'm not that sort of person. If I like a sport, I'll watch it. I don't care. I don't really care about anything else other than that. Sheena says, I watched the Chelsea game last night and spent most of it on the floor. Not really sure what you mean. The Chelsea's the 0-0 with Southampton. Yeah. Did you see the Burnley and Everton games have been moved? Yes, I have, Rob, and I was going to talk about it tonight, because that's a bit of deflection from the Premier League, but I'm not going to talk about it until all the May fixtures have been changed, which should be within the next week. So we'll do that with next week's live chat, mate. Brainstorm says, we are all disgusted with our club's owners' fault they did. I thought you might say that, mate. Tony's off. Good night, mate. Great to see you back, and I'm back involved in every shape or form. But it's 8 o'clock now, guys, so we'll wrap this up. So please, we've got 6 likes on this already, which is lovely, but please do like this video if you haven't already done so. Please do share this content with anybody that you feel may want to watch it, because we are 11 at the time of this broadcast. We are, as you can see from the subscriber count down there, we are 11 subscribers away from 1,800. Please do subscribe as quickly as possible if you haven't already done so. James says, salt and vinegar or cheese and onion? Cheese and onion, mate, 100%. Can't stand salt and vinegar, never have done. But yeah, guys, as I say, I will see you on Saturday. I'll see you live at 5:20 on Saturday evening for the Chelsea watch along, and the recorded I will see you at 8:30 tomorrow night for the preview. So in the meantime, guys, look after yourselves. Kieran's not answered the question, so I'm guessing he's still asleep, half asleep. James says, good stream, thank you, mate. Take care and have a good one. You too, have a good one, have a good week, mate. To you, Kieran, as well. All the best, guys, and I'll see you very soon. Take care, look after yourselves. We're almost out of lockdown for those in the UK. We're almost getting our lives back. Take care.